That cheap birthday cake still lingers in my memory. Artificially sweetened sponge, melted frosting under the June sun, and a messy inscription that didn't even spell my name right. Happy birthday, Savannah. Not Savannah, just Savannah. Missing an like the world itself had decided I didn't need to be complete to exist. I sat in the backyard at a wobbly folding table, trying to smile at the 3 neighborhood kids who came only because of the handwritten invitations I slipped under their doors. No balloons, no music, no one filming or taking pictures. Mom brought out the cake and immediately walked back inside, calling out behind her, "My girl's simple. She doesn't like anything flashy like Brielle does." 3 months earlier, Brielle had a princess-themed party at an Italian restaurant. 3-tier cake, live music, a balloon artist, and a glittery custom-made gown shipped in from California. I stayed backstage, serving sodas to the guests, because Mom said I was good at helping and rarely complained. That sentence, I've heard it all my life. I was born 2 years after Brielle, but growing up felt like living in a different version of the same family. A thriftier, colder, more practical version. Though no one ever said it aloud. They just called me the grounded one. When Brielle got a bad grade, Mom would skip work to study with her all night. When I scored perfectly, Mom glanced at the paper and nodded. "Good, knew it. You're always fine." Fine. Such a neat word. So hollow. When Brielle fell off her bike, the whole family rushed out. Dad carried her in, Mom dabbed ointment and kissed her forehead. I watched and wondered, if I fell, would anyone come running? The answer came when I was 11. I had a fever of nearly 102, but still dragged myself to school, knowing no one would be home if I stayed. Mom had to take Brielle to ballet. I still remember lying alone in that cold, quiet room, hearing the door close and bursting into tears. Not from the pain, but because no one noticed. People always said I was mature for my age. But maturity wasn't a choice. It was survival instinct. When I was 13, Mom and Dad bought Brielle a DSLR camera to encourage her interest in photography. I had a passion too, writing. But no one asked what I needed. I wrote in old school notebooks, ink-stained covers, pages yellowed from rainwater. It was fine. I told myself that. I'd learned long ago not to expect anything from anyone. In 9th grade, I won first place in a statewide writing competition. Standing on the stage, I scanned the audience. No familiar faces. They were at Brielle's first figure skating competition. I started working at the local bakery when I was 15. After school, I'd change into a uniform and scrub mixing bowls, brew coffee, clean trays. The pay wasn't great, but I saved every dollar for something no one else cared about: college. Brielle, meanwhile, was prepping for a summer acting program in New York that cost nearly $3,000. As I confronted Mama's demands, I said, "She's sensitive. She needs to explore the world, Savannah. Well, she can figure things out." Yeah, I knew. More than anyone thought. The role of the responsible daughter clung to me like a uniform I was never allowed to take off. I was taught how to clean my own wounds, mix cold medicine, read loan agreements. While Brielle was taught how to find her perfect lipstick shade and ask someone else to change a flat tire. One night, I asked Mom why she always put Brielle first. She answered without hesitation, "Because you're strong. Brielle's more fragile than you think." I didn't respond, but something in me started to collapse. Slowly, quietly, irreparably. No one noticed I was running out of hope. It wasn't pity I craved, I just wanted to know. If I ever couldn't stand back up, would someone catch me? College packets were handed out one October morning, as maple leaves carpeted the schoolyard like a fiery gold rug. Our counselor gave each of us a thick stack and said, "Your future is in here." I held mine tight, the pages were still warm. Like the opportunities inside were fresh, fleeting. On the bus ride home, I sat by the window, reading those school profiles again and again. Columbia, Stanford, UNC Chapel Hill. Each name felt like a call, not a promise, but a challenge. I wanted to try, not to prove anything to anyone, but because if I'd made it this far, why stop? When I told Mom I wanted to apply to Emory and Brown, she blinked and said, "Those schools cost a fortune. You should aim for state college, more realistic." I thought she'd say, "We'll look into finances," or at least offer some encouragement. She didn't. Just a furrowed brow and a sentence as indifferent as if I'd asked about a salad. That night at dinner, I worked up the courage and asked outright, "Did you save anything for my college?" Silence. It wasn't until I put my spoon down that Dad finally spoke, his voice heavy. "Brielle needs it more. You've got scholarships, savings from work. You'll manage better than she will." I sat frozen. Manage sounded like praise, but it was really just a confirmation. They were never planning to help me. I pressed on, voice tight. "Oh, the whole college fund is for Brielle?" Mom nodded slightly. "She didn't get any scholarships. She needs support so she won't fall behind." I laughed, a dry, hollow sound that bounced off the tidy kitchen walls like a slap I gave myself. They didn't flinch. Worse, they understood and still didn't care. Brielle got accepted to the University of Southern California, one of the most expensive private schools on the West Coast. The family celebrated with cake, sparkling cider, and a short speech from Dad praising her incredible effort. I got into 3 of my dream schools. One of them was Brown, which I'd only dared to imagine. But I said nothing. What was the point of sharing when no one was listening? I chose the University of Georgia because it offered a full tuition scholarship, though I'd still have to cover housing, books, and living expenses. The morning I left for college, there were no hugs goodbye, no handwritten letters like the ones Brielle received. I wheeled my suitcase down the front steps, loaded my own bags into the Uber. Mom opened her bedroom window, glanced down, then turned away without a word. The dorm room was exactly 150 square feet. The walls were stained, the ceiling cracked. My roommate, Natalie, brought matching comforter sets, framed family photos, and LED lights strung around her bed. I placed a suitcase on the bed and opened it. 2 worn bed sheets, a secondhand laptop I bought off Craigslist, and a teddy bear missing one ear, my 12th birthday gift. During my very first week, I applied to work at the main library as an assistant. 20 hours a week. The pay was low, but it could cover my textbooks. At night, I rotated shifts, typed up applications for more government aid, then searched online for ways to sell plasma without having to wait through long screening times. I didn't call home. They didn't ask how I was eating, how classes were going, or if I had any friends. But I saw Brielle's new stories every week. Photos of her dorm that looked like a resort, of her new handbags, of early morning yoga class with the caption, "Self-care before midterms." One night, while rinsing mugs after my library shift, my phone buzzed. It was Mom. "Savannah, Brielle's thinking of switching majors. We're discussing summer classes so she doesn't fall behind. It's going to be a little pricey. Can you cover your own housing this term?" I held the phone like it was a melting block of ice. Cold, wet, heavy. "It's fine, I'll figure it out." That first holiday break, I didn't go home. I said I was busy with an internship, but truth was, I couldn't afford a bus ticket. I spent the week organizing the school library's back room in exchange for a $150 stipend. While Brielle went to Europe on a study abroad program, I worked as a barista. When she posted photos next to the Eiffel Tower, I stood behind a counter foaming cappuccinos for strangers. I wasn't jealous. I just felt hollow. One Thursday night, dozing off between work shifts and evening classes, I got an email from my sociology analysis professor. "Savannah, your paper is truly impressive. Have you considered applying for the research assistant position next term? It comes with a stipend, and there's a chance to join the department's main research project." I stared at the screen like someone had reached out to me from a faraway place. For the first time, someone didn't say, "You're good because you're independent," but "You're good, and you deserve support." I closed the laptop, rested my chin on my hand, and reminded myself, if they won't invest in me, I'll invest in myself. But not by skipping meals or losing sleep. By grabbing real opportunities. Ones that mattered. I didn't need to be treated like Brielle. I just wanted to be seen as a person, not a fallback plan. Not the one who can handle it. I started planning. Not for a life that just scraped by, but for one where I no longer had to ask, has anyone thought about me yet? Welcome week at the University of Georgia swept through like a storm. Name tags, photo ops on every stairway, campus buzz. As for me, I was behind the counter of a cafe about 4 blocks from the dorms, counting change and keeping a polite smile while someone complained their almond milk was too warm. In the mornings, I shelved books at the library. In the afternoons, I scrubbed espresso machines. At night, I buried myself in coursework. No one waited for me at dinner. No invites popped up to watch a movie on the campus lawn. My roommate was busy prepping for Delta Phi's rush week. I ate instant noodles with frozen vegetables, watching silhouettes through the window, without thinking much. Silence had been my default for a long time. One night, while on library duty, a sophomore named Lena came up to the desk and asked if I planned to join the school's Global Citizenship Week. I hesitated, flipped through my planner, then shook my head. I had shifts, from 6 in the morning to 10 at night all that week. Do you work that much? She asked. I have to. I didn't explain further. I'd gotten used to people not really wanting to hear the rest of the story. My social theory professor, Mr. Wallace, liked to call me the punctual one. He didn't know I always arrived 10 minutes early because I needed the only power outlet under the back row. My old laptop couldn't survive more than an hour without a charger. In class, I was quieter than the white students whose laughter filled the room. Not because I lacked ideas, but because my voice was always labeled practical, while theirs were praised as profound. Still, I submitted every paper on time, backed my arguments with solid logic, and cited sources down to the last comma. By mid-October, Brielle posted from a resort in Key West. The caption read, "Resting up after midterms, treating myself, a little blessed." I stared at the photo, then flipped my phone face down. In front of me was a repair estimate for my glasses, the same pair I'd worn for almost 3 years, frame chipped and scratched. I'd planned to patch them with superglue because I couldn't spare $60 that week. Brielle had just changed majors again, this time from communications to interior design. In the family group chat, Mom texted, "We support all your decisions, as long as they make you happy." The message I'd sent the day before, "Mom, could I borrow $60 to buy my modern history textbook?" still hadn't been read. One rainy Sunday afternoon, as wind slammed against the dorm windows like it was trying to break in, I got an email from the sociology department. Spring Research Symposium. Freshmen were invited to submit a proposal if interested. I spent all night drafting a 7-page outline on how family-based inequality impacts academic performance. I didn't name names. I didn't point fingers. But every word felt pulled from a lung dried out by years of silence. 3 weeks later, I got selected. My mentor, Professor Rhonda Lively, wrote, "Your insight is sharp, your lens nuanced. I want to work with someone who truly understands what they're writing about." It was the first time anyone had used the word nuanced to describe me. On nights when my shift ended late, I'd catch the last bus back to the dorms. Once it never showed. I walked almost 40 minutes through the wind, arms wrapped around a bag of marked-down groceries, legs aching like pins in my joints. When I reached the room, Natalie was live-streaming with friends. I quietly ducked out of frame, my second-hand jacket frayed at the cuffs, sleeves unraveling. I opened my takeout box, ate cold rice, and sat down to write a critical response for political philosophy. Sometimes, I'd catch my own face in the shared bathroom mirror. The dark circles were deeper, my forehead dotted with stress breakouts, my curly hair tied back with a rubber band I'd pulled from a cookie tin. But my eyes? They were still clear, still stubborn, still not asking anyone for pity. One afternoon, while I was cleaning tables in the library, a freshman girl from Puerto Rico came over and whispered, "Savannah, what's your secret to always getting everything done on time?" I smiled, pausing before I answered, "I just do it like no one else will do it for me." She looked at me as if I'd said something hilarious, but I didn't laugh with her. By November, when leaves were falling steadily onto the brick walkways, Professor Lively sent me an email. "I'm nominating you for the first-year Student Research Award. Don't decline. This isn't pity, it's recognition." I didn't decline. I'd been silent for too long in my own house, so now, even without applause, I'd speak up. I would walk out from the shadow of the responsible child they'd boxed me into. One shift at a time. One paper at a time. One step at a time down a road paved with unfairness. The dean's list went up on the library lobby board one foggy morning. I was on my way to my shift when I saw my name, third row, right by the M, in Morgan. No one stood beside me. No cheers, no proud pats on the back. I snapped a picture and sent it to the family group chat with a short message. "I made the dean's list this semester." 13 minutes later, my mom replied with just 3 words, "Good job, honey." Right below it was a video she recorded of Brielle dancing with her friends at her school's cultural festival. The caption read, "Look how adorable she is." I set my phone down. The white wall in front of me suddenly felt like a mirror reflecting an old truth. My achievements were acknowledged with the bare minimum, reluctantly, out of courtesy. But whatever Brielle did, no matter how trivial, was always blown up like a miracle. When Professor Lively invited me to join the research group on social inequality in education, I thought this would be the moment my family finally paused, listened, paid attention. I called home after our first group meeting, full of anticipation. I got selected as a research assistant. Professor Lively said if I do well, she might nominate me for the national conference. Dad paused, then asked, "Do you get paid?" "Yes, but more importantly, it's the experience. I'll be listed as a co-author on a publication." "Okay, as long as it doesn't interfere with your classes." No praise, no follow-up questions, no sign that they were proud. That evening, another message appeared in the family chat. Brielle had been accepted into a study abroad program in Florence. My mom typed in all caps, "She's going to it!" Attached was a photo of her new passport, her new suitcase, and the Prada coat she picked out for the European spring. She had changed her major for the 3rd time, from interior design to global art history. Every time she switched directions, my parents said, "Youth is for exploring. What matters is finding your true passion." No one had ever asked what my passion was. I'd stuck with the same major from the beginning, social policy and demographic studies, and was still seen as someone who just knows how to study. Even when I was invited to write for the student journal, the only response I got was, "Send it to Dad to proofread when you're done." It didn't sound like pride, it sounded like an office clerk checking for typos. I applied for a competitive summer research scholarship, less than 10% acceptance rate. I submitted my full academic record, published articles, 2 recommendation letters, and the essay I stayed up 3 nights polishing. A month later, the acceptance email came while I was sweeping the back patio of the library. "Congratulations, Savannah. You've been selected for the Halstead Foundation's Summer Independent Research Program." I clutched my phone, then cried in the staff restroom, the only place I could collapse unseen. That night, I called home, hoping this time it would be different. "Mom, I got the Halstead Scholarship. Only 22 students nationwide were selected," she said. "Oh, so you won't be coming home this summer, right?" "No, I'll be staying at school to do the research." She hesitated. "Brielle isn't coming home either. She said she'll squeeze in a few weeks in Paris." "Do you want to hear about my research topic?" "Of course. But I'm cooking now. I'll call you back later, okay?" The call ended with clanging pots and pans drowning out my voice as I tried to stay calm. On Instagram, Brielle posted a picture from a vintage cafe in Venice. The caption was a quote in Italian she probably didn't fully understand. Didn't interact. I quietly noted everyone who did. Dad, Mom, our relatives, all left hearts, wow emojis, loving comments. Meanwhile, the article I shared about my academic publication, not a single like from my family. Not one. On the night before the summer research officially began, Professor Lively sent me a simple email. Savannah, you don't need validation from those who don't understand you. You need space to grow. And you are doing just that. Beautifully. I read it again and again, until my phone screen faded to black. Maybe I still don't have anyone in my family who truly cares enough to understand what my efforts mean. But slowly, I've begun to find others. People not bound by blood, who see me without needing me to prove myself. Mom's message came on a Tuesday afternoon while I was organizing folders in the research office. The subject line read, Brielle's graduation. Party plan. Save the date. I opened the attachment. A glittery digital invitation with curly font that read clearly, Celebrating Brielle's graduation pool party at the Pine Villas, Saturday, May 18th, 11 a.m. I froze in front of the screen, as if someone had just torn through my personal calendar with a freshly painted red fingernail. May 18th was the date of my own undergraduate commencement. The ceremony started at 10:30 a.m. I had informed everyone back in January, sent out the time, location, hotel booking links, and a campus map. No one replied. I called Mom that same afternoon. Her voice came through the speaker like it was echoing from a loud kitchen. What's up, honey? Brielle's party, it's the same day as my graduation. Oh, really? We didn't notice. So what now? There was a pause on the other end. Maybe we'll swing by your ceremony if the party starts a little later. I looked down at the frayed edge of my shoes, feeling as hollow as a room after cleanup. Mom, my ceremony's at 10:30. Brielle's party is at 11. You can't just swing by. Well, we'll see. You know, planning Brielle's party took a lot of effort. The whole family will be there. No one thought about me. No one asked, Savannah, what do you need that day? Is anyone going with you? Who do you want a photo with after the ceremony? Only Brielle. Always the center of the crowd, the eyeshadow palette, the perfectly angled cocktail glass for Instagram, and me, still as always, tucked neatly into the margins. That night, I returned to my dorm, left the lights off, sat in front of my laptop with a cold cup of tea. Instead of finishing the data survey I was working on, I opened Google Docs and began drafting the commencement speech the school had asked student reps to submit in advance. I wasn't chosen to speak, but I wrote anyway, as a way to save myself from melting into invisibility. Not everyone arrives at this day by the same road. Some drove straight into glory. Some walked, braving storms, bowing their heads through every closed door. But all of us are here. And the worth lies not in who watches, but in the journey we've made. I didn't know who I was writing for. Maybe for the little girl who once ate discount birthday cake in the backyard, comforting herself with fake gratitude. Maybe for the girl who worked 2 jobs for 3 years, walked home in the rain, and never heard anyone ask, "Are you tired, honey?" Maybe for myself, the one who stopped hoping to be chosen, but never stopped walking forward. On Thursday morning, Brielle posted a photo trying on her party dress, white lace, puffed sleeves, boutique background in Atlanta. Dad commented, "Our graduating princess." I closed the app and opened my school email. In my inbox was an unread line. Notice, Savannah Morgan, selected to receive this year's Sociology Achievement Award. No one in my family knew. I didn't share it anymore. Because I understood. It wasn't missing information. It was care that had never existed. 3 days before commencement, I booked a private photo session with a freelance photographer. $60 for one morning. I wore my black gown, held a book Professor Lively once gifted me, and stood beneath the old oak trees on the south side of campus. No flowers, no family in sight. Just me, beneath a sky streaked with spring sun. The photographer asked, "Will anyone be attending the ceremony with you?" "No. But I'll go by myself. I don't need anyone to stand up." He didn't ask again. On the morning of the ceremony, I left early, took a bus from the dorms. Other students chatted happily, their parents seated beside them, arms full of flowers and cameras. I sat by the window, looking out, knees shaking a little under the student union's lone suit that didn't quite fit. But my back was straight, my eyes open, my shoes polished the night before. When the MC called my name to receive the award, applause echoed across the stage, mostly from strangers. I scanned the guest section unconsciously. None of the people I called family were there. But strangely, there was no bitterness. Just silence, and a quiet truth. I wasn't waiting for them anymore. The night before commencement, I received an email from the chancellor's office. The subject line read, "Personal notification, please confirm attendance." I opened it, and my heart skipped a beat. Savannah Morgan. The Academic Council and University Board are honored to announce that you have been selected as the recipient of the Chancellor's Award for Academic Perseverance and Excellence, the highest distinction awarded to a graduating student who has overcome extraordinary circumstances. The award will be formally announced during the official ceremony. Please confirm your attendance. I stared at the screen, feeling the space around me tighten. No sound stood out anymore. Just my pulse in my ears, and the blinking light of the notification icon. It had been a long time since I felt seen. Not for high grades, not for being resilient, but because someone finally acknowledged that silent sacrifices deserve to be named. I confirmed attendance, closed my laptop, and stepped into the hallway. The sky was dark, the air was crisp. I tilted my head back, eyes stinging but dry. No one needed to witness that moment but me. The graduation ceremony began under a rare clear blue spring sky. Ivory banners hung from the lampposts, white chairs neatly arranged on the lawn, the stage modest but dignified. Students streamed in from all directions, gowns billowing, laughter mixed with microphone checks. I found a quiet corner near the back row, away from the noise. Professor Lively walked up, dressed in the deep red-trimmed graduation robe of the sociology department. "Ready for this?" she asked, half joking. I nodded. My hand gripped the invitation, not out of nerves, but as if I were holding something I never thought I could claim in the past 4 years. Acknowledgement. When it came time for individual honors, the president stepped up to the podium, adjusted the microphone, and his voice rang clearly across the speakers. Each year, the university selects one graduating student who embodies resilience, someone who has overcome adversity to achieve exceptional accomplishments. This year's recipient was unanimously chosen. I didn't move. She's a sociology major, maintained a perfect GPA while working nearly 30 hours a week to pay for tuition and living expenses. She's published 2 research papers and has been accepted into 3 top graduate programs. This year's Chancellor's Award for Academic Perseverance and Excellence goes to Savannah Morgan. Applause crashed like waves, spreading across the lawn. I stood, walked toward the stage as my name echoed, hands trembling slightly but back straight. My eyes scanned the crowd. No familiar faces. It didn't matter anymore. The president handed me the glass plaque engraved with my name and a letter of commendation. The light hit the surface just right, making it shimmer like a gem. I didn't give a speech. The ceremony didn't include one for award recipients. But the way Professor Lively looked up at me from the faculty section was enough to remind me I hadn't walked this path alone. After the ceremony, I was invited to a small reception next to the Central Library, a tea gathering for the honorees. The space was modest: cream tablecloths, walnut cookies, strawberry juice in tall glass carafes. An older woman approached, holding a champagne flute. Her short silver hair framed a proud, composed face. She wore a tailored navy coat with the school's pin on her chest. "You must be Savannah," she said, her voice low but precise. I nodded. "Pleasure to meet you. I'm Dr. Eleanor Wright, PhD in anthropology. Graduated here in 1979. I straightened, instinctively. She smiled, set her glass down, and handed me a white envelope. "I'm the one behind the newly established Savannah Morgan Resilient Scholarship. I chose the name myself. Didn't ask anyone's permission." Almost stopped breathing as I opened it. Inside was a formal confirmation of a scholarship for financially independent students, named after me, beginning the following academic year. The starting amount, $150,000. I read your file. People like you don't just deserve scholarships. You deserve to be the symbol for those who come next. I bit my lip, fighting tears. I don't know what to say. "You don't have to say anything, just keep going." She turned and walked away, leaving me standing in that room that suddenly felt bigger with every breath I took. That night, I returned to my dorm room. I hung my diploma on the wall and set the glass plaque on the windowsill. A light breeze moved the curtains. Streetlight spilled through, catching the engraved words in the glass. "Savannah Morgan, excellence through perseverance." I stared at it for a long time, not thinking about who hadn't shown up, not about the white dress Brielle wore to her pool party the same day. Just one thought. I got here on my own 2 feet, each step unassisted, unsupported. And now, people were tracing those footsteps like they meant something. I was standing in the lobby of the administration building, waiting for Professor Lively so we could walk to the farewell reception for the sociology department, when the glass doors swung open. Heels clacked across the floor. First came my mom, followed by my dad in a silver gray dress shirt, and then Brielle, her curls styled perfectly, holding a bouquet of white lilies. Their faces froze when they saw me still in my gown. On my left chest, the Chancellor's Award sash gleamed gold. "She just got called up for the big award," I overheard a student whisper to her friend as they passed by. Mom glanced around, then approached. "Savannah, I didn't know you got such a big award. Why didn't you say anything?" I didn't answer right away. Dad stepped in. "We came right after Brielle's party started. There was a bit of traffic, but we really wanted to see you graduate." "I'd already received my degree and taken photos," I said evenly. Brielle stepped back slightly, the bouquet in her hand seeming heavier. Her eyes flicked to the plaque I was holding, unsure. "I didn't expect you to get the Chancellor's Award," she said, lips tight. "You never texted anyone." I let out a soft laugh. "Have you ever asked how I was doing in school, what I was researching, where I applied?" Silence spread through the lobby like cold mist. "We were too focused on Brielle," Mom admitted, voice gentle. "But today is special. Can we have dinner together? Your dad made a reservation at River and Oak. We can move it earlier if you're free." I took a step back, keeping the distance. "I already have plans, with the people who showed up when I needed them." "You know what?" "What do you mean?" "We're your family." I looked him in the eyes. For 4 years, I handled everything on my own: tuition, textbooks, food, health. Every time I had good news, you were busy with parties, trips, or Brielle. And today, when the spotlight finally lands on me, now you want to celebrate? Brielle set her bouquet down on the reception desk nearby. Her expression was a mix of confusion and quiet regret. "I didn't know you had it that hard," she said softly. "I always thought you were okay. Because everyone says I'm strong. So it's assumed I don't need anyone." "We were wrong," Mom whispered. "There's no excuse good enough." "No, there isn't." I nodded. "And a late dinner can't erase 4 years of absence." "What do you want from us?" Dad asked, maybe genuinely wanting to know. I lifted my chin, my voice steady. "I don't want half-hearted apologies. I don't need symbolic gestures either. What I need is time, consistency. Not holiday messages, but real care when there's nothing to celebrate. If you're serious about starting over, prove it. Not tonight. They stood silent, no one interrupting. The air was split between things that never happened and things that could never return. I tightened my grip on the plaque and lowered my head. Thanks for coming, but now I have to go. There are people waiting, people who believed in me when no one else did. I turned away without waiting for a response. My heels clicked against the stone floor, echoing between scattered student laughter and the buzz of party prep. My mother's reflection blurred on the glass doors as I passed, still standing there, unmoving. Outside the hall, I drew a deep breath, letting the crisp air fill my chest. On the steps, Miss Lively was waiting, flanked by 2 students from our research group, holding sodas and a small gift bag. One of them waved. "Savannah, you made it! We saved you a seat." I walked toward them, quicker now, without looking back. The new office sat on the 8th floor of a glass building in downtown Atlanta, just a few blocks from the State Department of Education. It was small, with smoke-gray walls and a window that overlooked a corner of the park where people walked their dogs. My desk was neat, with a computer, a brown leather notebook, and a photo of me with the senior sociology team. Everyone smiling, no one pretending. My job involved coordinating scholarship programs between universities and nonprofit organizations. The salary wasn't high compared to friends with MBAs, but I didn't need more. Every day I got to meet students wrestling with familiar questions. How do I manage tuition? Does anyone see my worth? And that was reason enough to stay. My name appeared on the official advisory board of the Savannah Morgan Resilience Grant starting in October. When I got the announcement from Dr. Wright's office, I felt a bit overwhelmed. Not by the name, but by the strange feeling of seeing my past printed on a scholarship site in Times New Roman, with the words, "For students with exceptional ability, financial independence, and resilience in adversity." I never thought those words would ever be tied to me, in a good way. Each month, I had a virtual check-in with this year's recipient. A sophomore named Talia, originally from Haiti, double majoring in sociology and public health. Talia lived in a rented house with 2 friends and worked weekends as a cashier at the farmer's market. Her face carried that familiar exhaustion, sunken cheeks from sleep deprivation, dry lips from barely enough water, but eyes that never dimmed. On our 3rd call, Talia exhaled heavily after talking about her emergency loan getting denied. Miss Savannah, sometimes I feel like people with money don't get what it's like eating plain white bread for a week just to afford books. I looked at the screen and replied slowly. I do get it. Not from reading. From living on instant noodles and almost expired fruit for 3 years. Talia looked up. Really? Yeah. I've had to choose between buying textbooks and paying the electric bill, between doing laundry and going to class. But what matters isn't how much you endure. It's what you make from it. I started therapy on Dr. Wright's suggestion. She sent a list of 3 therapists and told me to pick the one who didn't make me feel like I had to be strong. My therapist's name is Ellis, a middle-aged woman with a judgment-free tone. She never tried to fix me. She just asked, what did that 15-year-old girl need most? I answered through tears. Not money, not scholarships. She needed an adult who would take her side. At the end of December, Brielle texted me, "Are you free for coffee this weekend?" I read the message, paused, then replied, "Sunday noon, Delancey's." We met at a window table. It was cold out, sunlight thin. She still dressed like a fall catalog. Light sweater, silk scarf, softly lined eyes. I wore a plain shirt, holding a cup of hot cocoa. I felt no anger, no bitterness. Brielle sat up straight and opened with a quiet admission. I don't think you knew, but I paid a lot of attention to everything you've achieved. I stayed quiet. The day you got the Chancellor's Award, I was genuinely shocked. Not because you were honored, but because I never realized how far you had to go, alone. I nodded. I'm trying to change, Brielle added. Not to make amends, but to grow up. I don't need you to apologize, I said. Just don't keep assuming everything came to me because I could handle it. We fell into silence, not awkward. We ended with her offer. Next time you speak at a public panel, tell me. I want to come. I didn't promise, but I do believe in what people can become once they stop viewing others as reflections of their own best parts. On my office wall, I framed a quote. True worth isn't in the spotlight shining on you, but in the path you walked when no one was looking. That old loneliness no longer feels like a crack. It's the foundation I now stand on, to help lift others. Every day, I still write, still read scholarship applications, still respond to students who want to quit halfway through the semester, and I keep my eyes forward, not to wait for recognition, but to choose my own way. Savannah's story proves that self-worth doesn't come from family favor. It's built from relentless effort and self-respect. Despite growing up in neglect and favoritism, she pursued her education with unwavering resilience, achieved remarkable success, and now inspires those who once felt unseen. She's more than successful. She's living proof that wounds can become the roots of strength and service. What are your thoughts on Savannah's journey and how she overcame the injustice in her family? Share your opinions below. And don't forget to follow the channel for more powerful and inspiring stories about life and family.